I know what we're waiting for.
This guy. Yeah. Hi.
Hi guys.
Hey guys. Welcome back to our channel.
What are you waiting for?
So today we just want to touch on transportation, kind of what we do, what we have used. So coming in the airport, we usually we have a friend that lives here from Mexico, so a lot of times he has picked us up in the past, and other times when he wasn't available, we kind of just use the cab to get to where we wanted to go. We heard stories about people that they walk like over the bridge from the airport, and then you can Uber from that location. We've never personally done that, but we heard that you can do that. Sorry about the noise. If you know about Mexico, we're outside. Cars, roosters, dogs, all that's gonna be barking.
Yeah, absolutely.
So yeah, so Uber can drop you off at the airport, but they just can't pick you up. So a lot of people, they just walk over the bridge, like I said, catch a ride. We never done it. We just usually use a taxi because we have several things of luggage we don't want to carry over the bridge or drag it over there. So what about other modes of transportation, honey?
Well, we also, like you said, use the taxi services, especially when we're coming from the airport.
Yeah.
And then there are other places locally that we also utilize the taxi services. For instance, we're about 2 blocks away from a grocery store, and when we walk there, sometimes we'll still taxi back, and it makes more sense to just use the taxi service because they're already parked right outside the store versus calling an Uber and just waiting for one. Also with the taxis, the prices are a little bit more negotiable than what they are if you're using an app such as Uber or Didi, which Didi is negotiable as well. They do negotiate prices, but it's just different to use the local taxis.
Yeah.
And
sometimes, I mean, it doesn't happen a lot, but sometimes you might run into a taxi driver that might overcharge you sometimes. So you always negotiate your price before you take off in the taxi, just so you're on the same page, so you don't show up to your destination and it might be a lot more money than you thought it would be. And it doesn't happen all the time, but there's always things that happen. That's why I personally kind of like to use Uber or Didi, because I see the price right then. I don't have to negotiate, and I can put the destination right there. Because sometimes with the taxi, you're trying to explain, where you're going. Unless it's a popular destination where you're going, you might be going to a side street, an Airbnb that maybe he doesn't or she doesn't know where it's at. So then you're trying to figure those things out. So sometimes Uber or Didi could be a little bit more accurate. And I found using Didi the other day that I put in the destination where I wanted to go, and it told me how much. I said yes, and then it came back where the driver can actually negotiate a price with you for that. So I mean, that could be good or bad. I mean, it's cool. You can, because it's Mexico, everything's negotiable. Mostly everything's negotiable, and that's nice that you can have those options. So,
and kind of circling back to what we were discussing with the taxi service versus the app services like Uber and Didi, the taxi services, sometimes they can give you a quote on a price to take you someplace, and then they take you to the wrong place. So if they don't speak English and they don't fully understand the address that you're giving, it's easier to use the apps. Also, really want to stress the importance of anytime that you're arriving in any location in Mexico, definitely know the colony, the colonia that you're living in, because a lot of the streets go through multiple different neighborhoods, so the addresses are very similar. So you just want to make sure that you know. And when I say colonies, it's like Cinco de Diciembre, Versailles, Romantic Zone, things like that. That's what I'm talking about when I say colonies or colonias. And again, as you were saying, and I agree greatly, that it is sometimes just easier when you're traveling to use Uber or Didi or whatever service they provide, just because you've already done the research, hopefully, on where your destination is or the place in which you're staying, the Airbnb, the hotel. So you would be familiar on a map of where that location appears versus just getting in the car and trusting, that they're going to take you where you want to go. But in addition to cars one other thing to mention as well is, as we mentioned, we travel a lot with luggage, and when we say luggage, we're meaning a checked bag, a carry-on, and a backpack each. So surprisingly, most of the vehicles in Puerto Vallarta, even the smaller vehicles can accommodate that much luggage plus us when we're traveling, which is great. But otherwise, if you have more people or you have additional luggage than what we just mentioned, you would want to make sure that you order like Uber Premier or an SUV, a larger vehicle. And that is important, because otherwise you're gonna have to pay for 2 Ubers, the one that you ordered mistakenly that wasn't big enough, and the one that actually comes to pick you up once you order the right one. So making sure that you're selecting the size of the vehicle is very important as well.
And also, as far as these are personal ways to travel, there's a public bus system that we have yet to use, but we will use it, and we are told that it is
really inexpensive.
10 pesos,
Mm-hmm.
which is maybe around 50 to 60 cents to ride throughout the town. We have not used it yet, but the bus system, I see the buses going all the time, so they're
Mm-hmm.
back and forth all over the place. So that could be a great way to travel throughout. And to swing back to what she said about sometimes you get into a taxi and the driver might not only speak Spanish. This is Mexico, so Spanish is the #1 language. So if you are going to come here, it's not their responsibility to know English or any other language that you might speak. It's your responsibility to learn Spanish, even if it's just basic Spanish.
Mm-hmm.
Learn those things, so that, especially when you're talking about the money or the destinations or wherever you're going, you need to learn Spanish, because this is Mexico, and this is what the country's main language is. So learn that language, and
make a note on that. It is absolutely necessary to learn the basics of any language of a country that you're going to.
absolutely.
We will be the first to say that that specific subject is one of them in which we strongly consider when we are considering traveling to other places, that Puerto Vallarta is very diverse, and there are a lot of people that actually do speak English, but they don't initiate conversations in English. They initiate in Spanish, which is their native tongue, which they should. And then once they find out that whatever language that you speak, a lot of times they want to practice their English with you anyway. So the point in me saying that is that they appreciate the fact that you're trying to speak Spanish. It doesn't have to be perfect. We're not telling you that in order to travel or to live in Mexico, you have to speak perfect Spanish. You should always put forth the effort to learn, but don't hesitate to attempt to use it. And again, most locals will appreciate the attempts, and then you'll figure out a way to communicate. There's always Google Translate and so on and so forth. But again, it's just a courtesy, and it's a necessity. So don't just arrive and expect people to speak English, because that's just not always the case.
Absolutely. All right. Another video from us, guys.
Yeah, thanks for tuning in, and we appreciate you watching and
Yes.
traveling with us.
You know, anybody wants to see this video, just share the video. You want anything else for us to talk about, leave it in the comments, let us know. And thanks for watching.
What are you waiting for?
Have a great day, and what are you waiting for?
Ah!